Welcome to Ambraw Woods, which is not usually open to the public, but we had a special event today to welcome the public to Ambraw Woods. 30 easier. So again, reed canary grass, you guys. The owner purchased the property in 2012. Around 2015, he asked grand-prairie-friends to become involved.
It had previously been farmed, but it had been several years since it had been farmed, so it was a solid monoculture of invasive reed canary grass. Nothing else growing in there. We had to start from the worst possible scenario, basically. So it definitely needed several years of treatment, alternating fire and chemical treatment.
Rural communities really rely on natural resources a lot for their economy. And so when we experience habitat loss and extreme storms and weather and damage from that due to climate change, it often hits our rural communities worst. And so as a foundation that's very place-based, we wanted to partner with a group like Grand-Prairie-Friends to help save some of our natural areas and our natural resources.
So our last burn was late summer of last year, 2023, and followed that up with some seeding of a cover crop. The cover crop we used was a mix of prairie plants. We wanted to try to go native with the cover crop, and what that does is it just holds the soil in place and prevents weed competition with the trees that we plant.
Anything exciting?
And I made it a mix of prairie flowers that doesn't have grass in it, because I know that reed canary grass is going to come back, and we're going to have to keep treating that as we go forward in the future.
This part of Coles County originally would have been forested. In the late 19th century, early 20th century, a large area of this county was cleared. Those timber areas were cleared for farmland. A lot of land was brought into crop production in this area, really reaching its peak in the 1940s. And then slowly, now those areas that were less suitable for farming are being converted back into natural habitats. And often the first stage is something like this field behind me. It's a hay field. This is not native vegetation. This is an introduced grass. But it's still better than having things tilled every year. It provides some wildlife habitat. It provides some carbon sequestration, at least in the short term. But the longer term solution often is planting trees, especially in those bottomland areas that are prone to flooding, which is what the bottoms here are.
Sure.
Historically, especially uplands in this area have been characterized by oaks and hickory trees. That's what we've planted in this project. It is a little bit of a floodplain sloping down to the river, so it's natural that in some of the lower spots, the wetter spots, other types of trees are going to want to show up. They will show up on their own. They don't need any help from us, so we're really trying to get the oaks and hickories going so that they're present there in that tree mix.
On the other side of the river from here, Grand-Prairie-Friends has some trees. If you're on the road and you're looking back over the newer tree plantings, you can see the trees kind of around the edge of the woodline that are all the same age. That's an old tree planting. That one is probably almost 40 years old now. And that's what they start looking like. So if you didn't realize that those were planted, you may think that that's just the natural edge of the forest now, but those were restored. So in another 20 or 30 years, the trees that Grand-Prairie-Friends has planted on the other side of the river and here will be that tall, and it'll make a major difference.
Grand-Prairie-Friends is a grantee of our Nature-Based Climate Action Program, and that program's goals are really to help draw down carbon from the atmosphere, but also teach people why that's important that we do that with our land. When we bring people out to the site and see, wow, this is a really important thing that we're doing here, and engage them around what's happening here and educate them about why climate action is so important, that's the next level.
It's a beautiful little plant.
There are a lot of ecosystem services that forests provide that aren't just in the carbon. So carbon storage obviously is a very big part of it, and that is very important. But forests also help with water cycling. They also help with wind erosion and water erosion and all kinds of other services like that that are natural things that you just don't really think about. By putting that forest in, you're helping somebody else downstream.
The reed canary grass can reproduce by seed, and it can spread through its roots rhizomatously. It has several methods of continuing to propagate. So it's tenacious, and it's going to keep coming back every time the river floods. We know that, we're prepared for it, and we will just continue to use a grass-specific herbicide on it. That means it'll only kill the grass, it won't kill our broadleaf flowers that we've planted as a cover crop. And we just know we're going to have to keep coming back until the trees get big enough to shade it.